Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei was Grandchild of Goku and became Mystic Saiyan Part 1. Before we start, please go support Raiden Sotome 345 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Issei is a male. After 2 years of battle against Triexha Issei is cheated by his girls with a new student who arrived on exchange. The factions turn their backs on him. But he is given the opportunity to become stronger in another place, since a powerful enemy will appear in the future that will threaten the dimension and the living reality. Clarifications. 1. Drake is taken from Issei, but he is not banished. 2. Issei trains to reach the mystic mode, which is the explosion of all potential. 3. The enemy is much more powerful than the DxD characters, obviously, if they fight him. Character sheet. They are Issei. Age: 25 years old / 30 years old currently. Race: Dragon God. Description: After the betrayal, Issei became very distrustful and serious. He lost his perverted personality. When he returns from his training, he returns changed since he became more cheerful and expressive. Skills: Use of Divine Ki to a lesser degree. Dragon Fist. Kamehameha. Masenpo, if I'm not mistaken. Big Bang Explosion. Genkidama. And among others. Definitive Issei but not Saiyan. Mind reading. Control over time. Creation and destruction. Great physical strength. Use of Divine Ki. Great dragonic power. Prologue. Issei narrates. One day you are a simple pervert who spies on kendo girls. Another day you discover that you have a sacred gear created by God, which has the legendary red celestial dragon, and you were turned into a demon. Then you are one of the strongest beings in the world, and you become a hero. After a while everything goes to shit. What did you expect? To be happy forever? Although it is not impossible, it is very difficult. Let me explain. After the battle against Triexha, the girls and I formalized our relationship. Since we were engaged, our job was to work on building our future. During the first year, everything went well. Obviously, the adventures continued. For example, the god Hades, the god of the underworld of Greek mythology, had created an alliance called the Infernal Alliance. His purpose was to eliminate all supernatural races, since according to him they were not necessary in this world. Also for a war against, I honestly don't remember. That year we made a lot of progress. Obviously I never touched them any further. They told me that they wanted to be virgins until they got married, which I agreed to and didn't despair. Obviously I also kept my promise and did not fail. The second year everything was going well until the boy who arrived from the United States, Matsumoto Daisuke, arrived. If he had a Japanese mother and an American father, he was a tan boy with a bully look. He was a very strong guy. I had been training and strengthening my body for a long time, so there were really very few things that hurt me. We once fought because he challenged me out of nowhere. I must say that his endurance was amazing for a human being. After a while we became friends. How naive I was. Time passed and the girls behaved strangely with me. They no longer wanted to talk to me, and I even dared to say that every time I approached them they looked at me with disgust and contempt. That obviously killed me with pain. My best friend Drake also stopped talking to me. I had been working for a long time to change that humiliation I had given him. Since the girls were no longer paying attention to me, I decided to make friends. Almost no one wanted to, but one day a girl arrived who was extremely beautiful in every sense of the word. Her name was Akane Senju. A rare surname to see, but that was his. With brown hair, honey-colored eyes, and a killer body. I had also changed a lot in that time because despite being very strong and tough, my appearance was a little delicate. One day I was called to the underworld. There I learned why Drake had stopped talking to me. I admit they tried to be as nice as possible to me. The thing is that they were going to take Drake away from me safely. According to them, so I can train my new powers and not always depend on the sacred gear. And while it made sense, all of that went to hell when I saw how they handed it over to my new friend. They told me that nothing was going to change but that Daisuke would be the new pillar of the factions and well, in the end they sent me to hell diplomatically. But that day came the worst of my life. I was on my way to the club to try to talk to them and see what the problem was and solve it. But when I arrived and entered I saw what it was. Daisuke was sitting without clothes on the bottom and Rias and Akeno were kneeling while they were giving him an obscene glow job. I watched that scene in horror, and also how the others went to him and began to kiss him. It was a bit traumatic. The truth is I didn't see Ross or Ravel, but I didn't pay attention. I ran away. I just wanted to get home and lock myself in. Even though I'm of legal age, I'm still a coward and immature. My parents, I couldn't count on them because they took away my last name and preferred girls and Daisuke. 2 weeks passed, and I didn't come out. Nobody visited me, didn't care or anything like that. But the next day a visit I wasn't expecting arrived. My friend Akane visited me and we talked about the problem. She and I trusted each other so much that she even knew about the supernatural. That day she told me that she supported me and what I least expected. She confessed her love to me. She told me she loved me, and since I was vulnerable, I made the mistake of believing him. Time passed, 2 months to be exact. Although I had not completely overcome what happened that day, I could say that I was better. Until yes, that's what you think. I saw my girlfriend Akane leaving the gym with her clothes disheveled. Her skirt was up and her panties were visible, and her underwear was on all wrong and she was all sweaty. I felt the essence, and saw Daisuke come out just as I imagined. She saw me and tried to explain. Daisuke also looked scared, but not because of regret, rather because he knows that I am stronger than him. I clearly told her that we were done. She started begging me, but without caring about anything I took out my wings and left from there. I opened a gap, as I have been doing for a long time, and headed towards Tannen's territory. I was there for 12 hours. I spoke to Tannen, and he told me that I was in danger of dying because of what happened to me. At that point I preferred to die than to live. After that 3 days passed during which I was with Tannen. I left there to talk to the leaders about what happened to the girls. Ha 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 ha, and they told me to buck off. They told me they couldn't because being a dragon I needed to have offspring. But what is clear to me is that they already knew it. I had to hold on for a while until Great Red and my gothic Lolita appeared to give me the chance to go to another world to become stronger. End of narration. At the moment, you can see a young black-haired man in a battlesuit. With a sword at his side, he was on a mountain watching the sunset. Issei mentally, I may never be able to be happy with someone or several people, but as long as I'm alive I will fight for peace and right. My life will be tied to this until I die. He turns back where he sees 5 girls. Girls, let's go. He just smiled and went to where they were. Chapter 1. Supreme Planet. Issei was in the lotus position, showing that he was meditating. His body had risen and around him a layer of blue aura could be seen. In front of him, watching him, were 4 beings who were paying attention to what Issei was doing. These were the Supreme Chaos-sama, was the Angel of Universe 7, the former Supreme Chaos-sama, and Kibito. Shin, young Issei has really advanced these 6 years. Kibito, this is what Supreme Chaos-sama looks like. S.K15, of course he is my disciple. Whis, you mean I still remember when he arrived. Flashback 6 years ago. Issei was descending at high speed in an unconscious state. He was about to reach the ground. When he hit the ground he was hurt by the fall. Then a humanoid being with feminine references saw him and lifted him with his staff, obviously without touching him. This subject is obviously was the Angel of Universe 7. Was mentally, he looks like those 2 boys I met. Could it be? Well, when he wakes up we'll ask him. Wiz took him inside to a spare room so he could rest. While he waited he went to the kitchen to prepare food. But at the table in front of the kitchen were 2 very familiar guys. These are Goku, the current god of destruction of Universe 7, and Issei, his grandson, or descendant, who is taking training to control his powers. Goku, what happened, Whis? Whis, oh Mr. Goku, it's you I'm looking for. Issei, what do you want from my grandfather? Whis, well, this is up to both of us. Let's just wait for the guest to wake up. 3 days later. In those 3 days Issei and Goku had continued with their training, but the little one felt anxious to know who the guest was. Meanwhile with Whis he went to the room where the other Issei was. It should be noted that he saw his memories, to have context, and well, it was something terrible. He still remembers another one of them who had been turned into a god of destruction, far surpassing an ordinary one, and also the one who took his little sister. Of course, that was thousands of years ago, when Kampa and Bills were still the gods of destruction of their respective universe. When she entered, she looked at him, appreciating his face, and admitted that the only word that could fit him was beautiful, since his face was free of imperfections, grease spots. His body is strong and marked. It was interesting. Then he saw how he began to open his eyes. Issei's perspective. Issei was waking up and felt like he was lying in a very comfortable bed, but that was impossible. He still remembers how great read through him, the idiot. Then, when he focused well, he could see a being with blue skin, white hair, and very tall. Issei, who are you? Where am I? Why are you blue? Whis. Ho ho ho, that's a lot of questions. Well, first of all, my name is Whis. Second, you are on the planet of the god of destruction. And third, I am an angel, and this is the natural tone of my race. Issei was in shock. God of destruction. Universe 7? Whis, well, I ask you to accompany me. Issei nodded, still in shock, and followed him, and they arrived at the dining room where Goku and Issei were. When they saw Issei from another world, they were surprised since, well, in Goku's case, he had already met one a long time ago. Issei, Ito, hi, my name is Issei, nice to meet you. I see, impossible, I'm called that too. Issei, really? I see, only my name is Hyoto Issei. At this point Issei was already more than in shock. A child of 12 years or older said that he had the same name as him. Whis, well, let me explain. They agreed, and even Goku paid attention. Whis, let's see, what do I call them? Issei, you can call me Red. Whis, okay then Red and Issei, do you remember when I told you about the restart in your world? Issei, yes, it was supposed to be at the time when my grandfather was not yet a destroyer god. Whis, exactly, well, that was 5,000 years ago. At that time my older sister and I trained a young red-haired boy to become a destructive god. He called himself the demon god of destruction. Red, wait a minute, what does that have to do with us? Whis, well, it turns out that boy, it was you, his name was or is. I don't know if he is currently alive. Issei, Gremory Lucifige. Red / Issei, what? The two turned to look at each other in surprise. Red, do you know a Gremory by any chance? Issei, well, meet someone, her name is Rias Gremory, she's my childhood friend. Red was in shock because in his world he didn't meet her until at the academy. Does he regret it? No, not really, because things happen for a reason. Red, wow, that's impressive. Issei, do you know her? Red, let's say yes, she was my fiancée, but due to some issues we broke up. Issei, ah, well, I just hope I can see her, like Akeno, Yumi. Whis, well, we're getting off topic. The thing is that there are different dimensions created by the King of All, where Issei is the most important being. Apart from that, Issei, there are others, such as, for example, where you are the son of a hero, a demon and a goddess, another where you have ocular powers, and more. Goku, wow, that's interesting. Whis, that's right. Well, Red-san, regarding your matter, I will train you together with other people. Red was surprised by the offer. Something told him that he had to accept it, since in the future he could help him. Red, okay, I accept the offer. Whis, okay, I'm just telling you that you'll practically have to say goodbye to your beautiful skin and appearance. Red, okay, it wouldn't be the first time. Thus began Issei's new life for 6 years, where he learned how to handle ki. He was able to improve in the use of magic and obtained great power, but nothing close to his true power. End of flashback. Issei had already opened his eyes and stood up from the position he was in to take another and shout. H. Whis, wow, his power has really increased. I can feel divine ki coming from him. S.K15, that's right, I think it's time. Shin, are you sure? S.K15, of course, he is more than ready. Kibito, then we have to make preparations. In this, two very familiar kiss feel. When they saw who they were surprised by their unexpected appearance. The people who saw everything were of course Goku, but next to him a young man of about 17 years old very similar to him. Issei, hello Red, we have arrived. Red, you know it's weird that they call me that when you arrive, ha 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 ha. He said Red that he currently had a more mature appearance, with brown hair and a full outfit. Goku, the time has come, hasn't it? Whiz, that's right, Mr. Goku. Shin, Kibito, is everything ready? Kibito nodded with his typical serious expression. Goku, while this brings back memories. S.K15, well, in the case of the two Issei, their potential and body are better than ever in Gohan, for not training. Shin, okay Red, it's time for you to eat. Issei being named Red approached the Supreme Chaos-sama from 15 generations ago. S.K15, well, let's not waste time. After saying that, he raised his hand towards Issei, and suddenly a burst of power came out of Issei comparable to Goku entering his current Saiyan God mode, which was perfect and had great power. His hair darkened a little. His eyes took on a white-purple color from which rays came out on his forehead, a kind of red horns. His wings were entirely purple, the upper part was free and only his muscles were seen at the bottom. From the waist to the feet it was covered like a cloak of darkness, like the cosmos. Goku, wow, he's very powerful. Whiz, without a doubt, but he can't get any stronger, that's his limit. Issei, wow, I would like to fight him. Red had heard everything, he was excited. 6 years of his life had not been worth so much, now it was time for his adventures. Red, so Issei, do you want to fight? Issei smiled and nodded. Later. Issei and Red stood face to face, staring at each other. Shin, well, remember that it's a friendly fight. The first one to surrender or fall unconscious wins. The two were in their base states. After hearing what Shin mentioned, they charged forward to try and land a blow, but the two collided. After that they separated to begin the exchange of blows that was at an impressive speed. Issei, this is fun. Red, I agree. The blows continued and the intensity increased more and more. Then Issei kicked him, sending him flying. Red gets up and throws himself back at Issei and manages to land a blow that also sends him flying to appear beneath him and send him into the heights, appearing above him and giving him a hammer blow downwards. Issei stood up smiling and said to Red, Issei, it's time to take it to another level. Red, that's what I wanted to hear. The two increased their power. Issei used his base state, which was already very powerful, and Red increased his fighting power to Issei's level. Red, let's get started. Back each one went towards the other where a new fight began. They smiled. It must be said that currently Red was almost at the level of Issei in power, although Red surpassed him a little in experience. With the spectators, those present watching the fight were totally impressed. Goku, he's worthy of both of them. Shin, without a doubt, and even more so now that young Red has reached a level similar to that of the gods. S.K15, well, he himself was already a god in his world. Whiz, correction, he was a semi-god, now he has reached the highest pinnacle of his world, therefore there is no being that can defeat him in his dimension. Shin, of all of them, who is the most powerful? Whiz, of the four I would say, he is the redhead, the second is the one who has the same aura as Red, then there would be his grandson Mr. Goku, and Red is the last one. Goku, I think it's time for the fight to end. Kibito, so far they are tied. Goku, guys, stop it. With Issei and Red. They had heard Goku's call, so they stopped and decided to call it a draw. Although Red knew that his counterpart could beat him if they advanced further in level. Red, what's going on? Whiz, well, just to say that your training is about to end, all you have to do is master your ultimate state. Issei, wow Red, you are very powerful. The dragons in my world alone, Great Red, Ophis, Chrome Crutch, are very strong, but they still don't reach this level. Red, is there another Great Red here? Issei, yes, why? Red, it's just that there's only supposed to be one since he's a globetrotter and travels through the dimensional gap. Whiz, what happens is that you are in another universe, part of the multiverse. Look, in a universe there can be different realities or dimensions. By having an endless number of galaxies they can function in that way, and by being from different universes, the dimensional gap is not connected to that of your reality apart from this. This is the root or original dimension. Red, wow, it's complicated, Before Red continued speaking, Red and Issei felt an essence similar to them. Red noticed that it was more powerful than him when he was in his world. Accompanied by him were two more people. Where are we? Those present at the place saw the three people who came out of the gap or portal. In the case of Red and Issei, they felt familiarity with two of them. Whis already knew what was happening, so he just smiled. Shin, what happened, Mr. Weiss? Whis, you'll see. People were watching those who were previously there. There were two women and a man. The man stared at them all, analyzing them. He discovered the following. He could not sense the power of four of them. The other three were somewhat powerful. Excuse me, where are we? Issei, we are on the Supreme Planet, but who are you? Maybe it's not the time, but don't you think you should introduce yourself earlier? Red looked at the guy who was the same height as Whis. His aura was the same as his, since he could feel the power of infinity and dreams. Only this one was stable. Issei, my name is Hyoto Issei. The man and his companions were completely surprised. Red, hello, my name is also Hyoto Issei. Whis, apparently they already realized you're also called Hyoto Issei, right? Mao, that's right, I'm Hyoto Issei and I'm the king of the demons, but you can call me Mao. The other two were surprised, but to a lesser extent. The only thing that surprised them was his power level. Issei could tell that he could fight him in Super Saiyan Phase 2. Red, well, you can call me Red. Issei, and well, I am Issei. Goku, and the other two girls. Mao, I apologize, enter yourselves. Tiamat, a pleasure, my name is Tiamat, the Dragon Queen of Chaos. Issei, wait, are you Tiamat? Tiamata, that's right, do you know me? Red, I understand what you mean. We are from different realities. We are in the root dimension, therefore, they are different. An example, in my world, you have another appearance. Issei, in my case, I've only heard about you, but I don't have the pleasure of meeting you. Tiamat, I see. Brunhild, my name is Brunhild and I am a Valkyrie. Issei, I'll like Rasiweiss, great. The others just listened to the conversation. It was really interesting, the fact that the same three people were in the same place. Shin, and what do you bring here? Mao, we come from Brunhild's dimensions, from a battle, to be precise, a very difficult one. Red, which one? Tiamat, a battle against the gods of different mythologies of her world. I wiped them all out. Whis, they would allow us to see. Mao nodded, and then Whis approached them and touched Mao's head with his scepter so that his memories would be projected. Memories. The Colosseum where the fight against the gods was taking place was seen. Issei, fed up with everything, decided to put an end to the war between gods and humans. Zeus, who was tired and was one of the last ones left alive, looked at him with hatred and asked, Zeus, why? You are a god too, why are you doing this? Issei just looked on in a cold and boring manner. It had been difficult for him to fight against them using 60% of his power. It was really impressive. He was a little hurt, but not as much as the others. Issei, because I was once a human and I understand what it's like to be one. You are just arrogant beings who treat the human race like guinea pigs. You don't care about them, you just judge and do nothing. That's why my mission is to finish you off. After that, make your hand to create a ball between dark and purple. Issei, Brunhild and Tiamata create a barrier for people. They agreed, and Issei just said, Universal destruction, Hawkeye. And the gods were exterminated one by one with the passing of the ball. End of memory. Everyone was surprised. Whis, how can you use Hawkeye? Mao, apparently they know him here. Red, from what I could see, that was the Baal power. I thought with Drake's flames and the power of sleep and infinity. Was I wrong? Mao, no, that's right. Goku, it's true, the Gremry girl and her family have that power. Issei, that's right, Grandpa. Mao, apparently you know her here too. Issei, well, she's my fiancée. Mao, wow, well, in my case she is one of my wives. In fact, I have 2 children with her. And you, Red? Red, well, it's a bit difficult. S.K15, I see you have potential. Don't you want training? Chapter 2. Ko City. Hyoto Mansion. Issei, well, this is my house, I guess you already know it. Mouse/Red, yes. It turns out that Issei had invited them out to distract themselves. Iben, Mao, who was in his other guys, Brunhild, Tiamat, and Red. Issei proceeded to knock on the door, and it was opened by none other than Issei. Hello, Venezuelan-chan. That shocked the other two, but what made them open their eyes in shock was Issei giving him a kiss on the lips. After that welcome, Venelana looked at the other guests, and became upset because they were very powerful, but she still tried to behave. Venelana, good afternoon, my name is Venelana Bale Hyoto, coming soon. Red and Mao were uncomfortable, but they welcomed anyway. Issei, don't worry, they know you, it's better to go in. They proceeded to enter, and went straight to the living room where all the inhabitants of the mansion were. Rias, I see, who are they? Issei, oh well. Red, excuse me for being rude, my name is Red. Mao, my name is Mao, and my companions Tiamat and Brunhild. When Tiamat said this, everyone was surprised to have the Dragon Queen in their house, although they were also honestly surprised by the power that emanated from the others. Rias, okay, you are welcome. Venelana, Issei, you previously said that they knew me. Issei, yeah, well, it would be better to tell them everything. The other two just looked at him with a look of shame, but in the end they just sighed. Red, well, my name is not Red, my real name is Issei. Mao, mine is also Issei Hyoto. Everyone was in shock. Yumi, but how? Issei, do you remember when I told you about the universes and my grandfather? They all agreed and realized that they were from other worlds or dimensions. Akeno, Era, and could you tell us your story? Mao, okay, I'll start. Then he proceeded to tell his story, from when he gave himself over to the supernatural world, his journey through this world, the girl's betrayal, the pregnancy, his time with them, how Saji, Bikwa, and Chow Chow challenged him as the Mao Lucifer, his last day with his children, etc. Mao, and that's how it is. Everyone was shocked, especially the girls and Issei and Red, who didn't know that, since they didn't have the chance to talk about it. Issei, actually this is not my real appearance. Irina, could you show us what you look like? He just nodded, and a light shone, blinding most of them. When everyone opened their eyes, they saw something that amazed them. With a more monotonous voice he spoke. Issei, this is my true appearance, before my hair was red. Everyone felt a little uncomfortable with his appearance. Issei, in the underworld she still had the other appearance. It was strange for her to be like that. In fact, my children only saw her 3 times. Oh wow. Then Mao returned to the other appearance, then Red sat on the middle chair. Red, well, I think it's my turn. Then Red also told his story, leaving nothing out. It must be said that the girls felt disgusted by the actions of their counterparts, and they felt sorry for Red. Red, and well, finally, Great Red and my beautiful Lolita sent me on a journey through the gap. Asia, I'm really sorry. Red, why? You are not them, you are not Mao's wives either. What you have to do is not fail, Issei. Rias, that's true. Hey, I see. What do you want to eat? Issei, Red, Mao, whatever is fine. They all looked at them and started laughing. They played along. Some time later. A few hours had passed and it was now nighttime, so they each gave them rooms, although in Mao's case, he left with his women. Those night lives were taken. Red was left alone in his room. He couldn't sleep, every night when he tried to sleep, but he could see those scenes before it was more frequent. So he went downstairs and went to the kitchen. He obviously knew the place very well. Red, it seems like we are back in time, before the raiding game against Serorg. Ha 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 ha. Well, I really don't know how Venelana ended up being with Issei. That's very easy. Issei was excited when he heard the voice and turned to see Venezuelan woman wearing revealing pajamas, but for some reason that didn't affect Red. Red, so what's the reason? Venelana, well, more than anything, it was because she left Xioticus for Issei. Xioticus became very arrogant and had no interest in his daughter, which is why he allowed her to get involved with Red, with Razor. Venelana, I forgot that you came from a world in which almost the same thing happened, but I continue. When Issei went to rescue Rias, since he couldn't get involved in demon affairs, well, he is very powerful, so it was not a problem for him to defeat Razor. Zeuticus attacked him, but Issei humiliated him. That day he impressed me. Not so much for what he did to Zeuticus, rather, that he was someone powerful, someone who could get goddesses if I have wanted, fought for my Rias. I really was captivated to a certain point. I was envious. Red, ha ha ha, I imagine you talked to him about that. Wow. Venilana, that's right. Do you know what Issei is? Why is that your name? Red, yes. Venilana, when you return to your world, don't seek revenge, even if it will satisfy you at the moment. What will you have afterwards? Obviously, teach them a lesson, but that shouldn't be your only objective. In fact, I recommend that you conquer the Venilana of your world and also Graphia. Get that? Red just laughed at what he said, but he was right. Although he wasn't exactly thinking about revenge, he was thinking about doing a lot of bad things to the factions. Red, you're right. The truth is that very soon I'll have to go to my world, but I'm somewhat afraid. Not because of the girls. The truth is that they don't interest me anymore. More than anything, it's because of Akane. Venilana, well, I wouldn't know what to tell you, but if she tries to explain, listen to her. It depends on what you hear. You'll make your decision. Well, I'll go to sleep. See you tomorrow. Rest up. Red, likewise, and thanks for the advice. After that, Issei drank a glass of milk and proceeded to go to his room. He laid down and started to sleep. Dimensional gap. Root dimension. In that place was Great Red, seeing a different office. All one was enough. Office, Baka Red, where is Issei? Great Red, Issei? Office, that's right. Great Red knew Issei and even knew the one called Red. I imagine that of your world. Office, that's right. Where is it? On Earth it is. He couldn't finish speaking as Office had torn through space and entered the gap. Ko City. Hyoto Mansion. It was currently 9 a.m., it was Sunday, and everyone was quietly having breakfast. In fact, no one was uncomfortable, not even Red, but then he suddenly stood up. Rias, what happened? Red, someone from my world came. Mao, it's Office. Red, that's how it seems, hehehe. Zenobia, why are you putting on that smile? Brunhild, well, remember that he refers to her as his lowly, so I think they are a couple. Red just agreed. A very beautiful blonde girl, with purple eyes, named Charlotte, was next to Issei talking about something very important. Charlotte, hey Issei, does that Office also exist here? Issei, that's right, he is actually the third powerful being in the supernatural world. Red, it's true. I have a question. Mao, I thought you would never ask. Venilana, what is the question? Red, who are the most powerful beings? Obviously discarding the gods of destruction, angels and others. Issei, well, the truth is I wouldn't know very well. Rias, number 1 goes to Issei, number 2 is Great Red, number 3 is Office Ouroboros, number 4 Shiva. In fact, Issei already fought Shiva and defeated him, as did Great Red. Red, I imagined as much. Mao, it was something very obvious. Akeno, and in your world? Tiamat, well, in position 1 is Great Red, in position 2 is Office Ouroboros, Mao's wife. There is also Mao. In position 3 is Shiva, although currently Mao must be in position 1 with Great Grid. Brunhild, and in your red world? Red, good. Before Red could speak, a dimensional rift opened near Red. The truth is that no one was upset, since they sensed who it could be. Network Office. Office Issei. Then she approached him and gave him a loving hug. That scene was very tender for the others, although in Mao there was almost no reaction. Office. I miss you so much, Issei. Red, me too, but for now tell me, Red. Office, why? So Red explained everything he did in those 6 years, as well as the fact that the others were there, and among other things. Red, and how is everything going there? Office, well, we hardly interact with them, but we keep an eye on them. The new Sir Kyuti is total garbage. He's strong, but he couldn't beat you. Red, wow, well, that's your problem anyway, and why did you come? Office, I wanted to see you. Was it wrong? When Ophis said that and made that face, Red almost fainted, because of how cute and tender she looked. Red, don't worry, it's okay. Issei, well then welcome Ophis. Ophis turned to where everyone was. The truth is that she had totally ignored them. Ophis, thank you very much. Mao, it's interesting to meet another Ophis. Red, it's true in your world she is your wife, ha 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 ha. Mao, yes. Well, so what will they do? Red, I think it's time to live adventures. Since I entered the time room and trained for a year, I was able to control my ultimate state. Ophis, definitive? Red, I'll tell you later. Then I think we'll only stay 2 more days and then we'll leave. It's time for me to face my past. Whiz, that's right. Network, Whiz Sensei. Whiz, Red-san, you are ready. Now it's your turn to live well. I came from Mao-san. It's time to train up and congratulations. Red and Mao laughed even though Mao fainted. 2 days later. They were all gathered at the mansion, and even Goku was there. Mostly it was to say goodbye to Red and Ophis. They were standing close to everyone and were saying goodbye. Red, well, this is goodbye. I hope to see you again someday. Venilana approached and hugged him, then separated from him and said, Venilana, remember very well what I told you. Now you have Ophis. Along the way you may find more. Keep in mind that revenge must be in the background. Red, thank you very much. Then Red opened a breach and Ophis and he entered. They traveled through the entire gap until Issei opened another one, and a light blinded them for a while until they saw that they were in a city that was not theirs. Issei, where are we? From here on he will be called Issei. Ophis, I don't know. Chapter 3.5. City. Unknown location. The city they were currently in was in chaos, as everything was destroyed. Issei, wow, where did we end up? Ophis, it doesn't matter as long as I'm with you, it's fine with me. Issei, there is Ophis. Issei hugged Ophis for such a comment. Issei, hey, what about Lilith? Ophis, she's with Baka Red, but she's sad because she doesn't see you. Issei, hey, what if we treat her like our daughter? Ophis just nodded with a smile. Suddenly several explosions were heard at the scene. Then they went towards the origin of the sounds and explosions. It is worth mentioning that they flew without wings since Issei learned to do so with the Anai, and Ophis, it is Ophis. Issei, what is that? It looks like a battle. Ophis just shrugged. As they flew they realized how bucked up the place was. It was really sad. Arriving at the place they could see a girl running for her life from a very strange being. It looked like a monster. The girl had a face that expressed total fear, and she was even crying. Issei, seeing this, could not hold back, so he went to attack and rescue at high speed. Issei, you damn monster, leave that girl. Issei lunged forward, but in his hand a blue sphere formed. Issei, it's time. Then Issei dropped down towards where the monster was. When he arrived he destroyed it completely. Killing the monster, Issei approached the girl who was trembling. Issei, I know it's silly to ask, but are you okay? Girl, yes, thank you very much. Hey, who are you? Issei had noticed their presence for a while now, but he didn't say anything. Issei, are you talking to me? Don't play dumb, of course I'm talking about you. Issei, well, my name is Hyoto Issei, and yours? You, mine is Yuichiro Hyakuya, but they call me you. Issei, well, it's a pleasure. You, where are you from? I've never seen you before. Issei, well, I can't answer that, but oh well, see you. Issei then made a great leap to go to where Ophis was. When he arrived he was met with her annoyed gaze. Issei, what's wrong? Did I do something wrong? Ophis, you revealed a lot of information. Issei, hey, don't worry about that. Even if they knew some things about me, they would never be able to defeat me, but well, I think it's time to investigate. They began to fly to check the place they were in, but in Issei's mind something was planning. Issei mentally, I've never destroying everything, but if it turns out I like that this world is beyond saving, I'll have to destroy it. The problem is if there are people. The good thing Shin taught me about creating planets. The next day, they were near a town, and by chance he saw the boys they had met yesterday. Now that he looked at them closely, they were practically just children. Office, the truth is, she wasn't interested. The only thing that mattered to her was being with Issei. Issei, Office, I think we'll have to follow them. Office agreed. She would act according to what Issei said. There was a reason for that. They were watching what they were doing, how the boy with pink hair started a truck, how they made fun of the one with purple hair. Then they set out to follow them, since they had started off. While they were following them, Issei noticed something and told Office. Issei, Office, did you notice? Office, yes, those weapons have demonic energies, but in that boy I feel sacred energy. Issei, it seems that this world is more similar to ours. They continued on their path, watching them until they came across a rather interesting scene. With the boys. They were cautious because they were in an area that could be more dangerous than others. The purple-haired girl named Shirnoa gave a comment. Shirnoa, these places are very dangerous, so we must be very cautious. Everyone agreed with what she said. Suddenly, in front of him, a silhouette was walking towards him. Yu opened his eyes as he recognized the clothes the guy was wearing. The pink-haired boy who was driving tried to stop, but Yu held his hand and said, "Yu, don't stop, he's a noble, let the truck run him over." The others agreed to what he said and opened the door to their respective seats and got out of the van. As she jumped out of them, she went straight towards the subject. When she got to the point where he was, she just raised her hand. With Issei. He was a little surprised. Thanks to his enhanced senses, he could hear that it was a noble, and from his appearance and aura he could detect that it was a vampire. Office, that guy is strong. Issei was surprised to hear that from Office. Issei, could he put you in a bind? Office, not really, but it is strong. It wouldn't be in the top, but it is definitely strong. Issei, now that I see it carefully, if he's a high-class vampire, he might even be a supreme class or more. These guys are going to have a hard time. Office agreed to what Issei said. Then Issei sat down to observe everything while Office sat on Issei's lap being hugged by Issei. With the boys. They were stunned by what they saw, but it was not time to waste time. The boy named Yuichi attacked with his bow and sent out some arrows. The noble vampire just looked at them with a smile. He took out a sword and said, "And baby sword, my blood." Then, from the handle of the sword came out a kind of needles that pierced his hands, and in one movement he deflected the attack. They were all in a fighting stance with their demonic weapons. Shirnoa was talking about a plan but got distracted, which caused the guy to appear behind him trying to slash him. Clink. It was the sound of a clash between swords. Everyone watched in surprise. As you had stopped a slash with your sword, the guy just stared at you with a smile. And oh, it's impressive. For humans, who are they? The boys were just on guard. You, what do we do? We leave? Shirnoa, no, if we could, we would. While everyone was in their predicament, and thought Shirnoa was thinking about something else. Shirnoa mentally, if we fight him alone, we might have a chance. Before continuing, she saw two women appear falling from the sky. Shirnoa could only think, shit. The girls stood by the vampire's side. With Issei. Issei and Office were still watching how things were developing, but it was not the time to intervene. It was clear that those girls did not come to fight. Issei, things are tough, right? Office agreed. She looked comfortable where she was sitting. Office, are you going to intervene? Issei, not for now, they are not in danger. Office, why do you care about them? Issei, why? Maybe because I'm a hero, obviously not as they describe them. I'm much better than them. Besides, I have a plan for this world. Office, what is it? Issei, it seems that this world has no salvation. That's why I will destroy it. I know that there are still human beings. I will send them to another place where they can be happy. Office just stared at him for a moment, and Issei returned her gaze. Then Office approached him and gave him a kiss on the cheek. Issei, he. Issei mentally, maybe I have no right to get involved in these matters, but sometimes it's better to do so. That's my job. At that moment the boys were tense because they had high-level vampires in front of them. Things were getting difficult for them. The vampire with short purple hair asked the man a question. Crowley-sama, what are you doing out here? V2, the Degree 7 parent is looking for it. Then the one called Crowley turned around curiously and asked, Crowley, Ferret is looking for me? Better not keep him waiting. That was what he said as he turned to look at the boys. The blonde girl handed him her sword as he spoke. Crowley, looks like I'll let you go this time. I'll see you later so I can draw your blood. You was very angry, so he was going to say something. Your co. He didn't finish speaking as he felt someone touch his back. When he turned around, he found Crowley behind him. Crowley, well, see you later, little lambs. After saying that, they skipped away. When they left, everyone was able to breathe. Shinoa fell to her knees, and on her face you could see the desperation she went through. Shinoa, we are saved. The others were almost the same except for you. He looked upset. Damn this guy. With Issei. Issei was watching how the matter developed, and the truth understood them. He died several times and returned from the dead, but that didn't mean he wasn't afraid. Issei, it's time. Then Issei, with Ophis hugging him, teleported to where they were, but in a way that they wouldn't notice. At the moment, Yu continued to complain until he heard a somewhat familiar voice. Issei, that's how things are, kid. You should be thankful that you were able to get out alive. It's you, and who is the girl? Everyone looked at Ophis, who was still hugging Issei. Honestly, Ophis was annoyed by what he said to her, so she decided to change her appearance. A light surrounded her, and when that light faded, everyone could see a very pretty black-haired girl. Beautiful, rather. Her skin looked like porcelain, she had a red kimono and her eyes were red. Issei, she's Ophis, my partner, but that doesn't matter, kid. Tell me, since when you have been in this war? You began to tell him what happened in his childhood and what he experienced when vampires began to attack humans, as well as the virus that spread. Issei was very surprised this boy really had to endure all that, and the truth is he admired him. Issei, I'm sorry about your family. Tell me, why do their weapons have demonic energy? Everyone was surprised. Well, it was known that the weapons had a demon inside, but saying that they could feel the energy was another matter. Shinoa, how do you know that? Issei ignored any of them and approached you slowly. They were on guard, but he disappeared in an instant and appeared next to you and created a barrier, touched his shoulder, and appeared in a different place. Issei, so this is your mind space. Who are you? It is very clear that you are not a human. This is a short, purple-haired girl with red eyes. Issei, are you a demon? Your aura is that of a vampire, and a very strong one, in fact. I asked you first? She appeared calm, but she was actually scared. The atmosphere was very heavy. The boy in front of her was someone very dangerous. Issei, I'm Issei and I'm a dragon. A Sumeru. I am a Sumeru and I was previously a vampire, but aren't dragons a myth? Issei, just like vampires should be. I want to ask you something. She agreed. She was a little relaxed, but not too much. Issei, why does this boy have sacred energy? To a certain extent it is corrupted. Then she begins to tell him about the experiment they were carrying out at the orphanage where Yu was. Since being her weapon, she had access to his mind. Issei, I understand. I'll be honest with you, I'm not from this world. In fact, I only got here by mistake. Asumaru, I see. Why are you helping him? Issei, I really don't know, but it will only be for now. I will really destroy this world and I need it to verify some things. Asumaru was surprised. He was in disbelief. He really didn't think the guy in front of him had such power. Issei, maybe you don't believe me, but you'll see later. This world has no salvation. I'll just see if they deserve any chance. After that, Issei left Yu's mental space with the others. The boys were attacking the barrier, but it was impossible to break it. Ophis did nothing because she didn't see it as necessary. Kimazuki, it's impossible. After they took a little break, they saw how Issei opened his eyes and the barrier broke. Then they were going to attack, but they saw how Yu was fine without any problem. Yu was looking at Issei and he hugged him. Issei, I know what you went through and I will make sure you can have a normal life. After that they separated and Yu was just static. Issei, well, we will help them to finish all this. It's time for the solution. Issei turned to look at them and smiled. Issei, are you ready? Chapter 3 2 of 2. Human Base. A few days had passed since the incident. and Issei traumatized some vampires since they had attacked. The humans, seeing Issei killing the vampires with ease, had different reactions. Some were happy and relieved, others were planning a way to turn him into a demon. Also the reunion of you and his childhood friend named Michaela, who is currently a vampire. Also how you lost control and Issei had to signal the being that was released. He also met Krulteeps and they had a talk, where Issei offered him a deal. Since I understood that she was not so bad. At the moment, Issei was with Ophis in front of the humans. They had something planned, so he put some protection spells on some people. Issei mentally, the good thing is that he has already created that planet and the people will be teleported. It's time for the end. They were listening to the words of one of the commanders, being a black-haired man with red eyes. This guy's name was Kirito Hiragaji. This one was talking about the final phase of something. Issei already knew what he was talking about. When suddenly a type of needles appeared and killed most of the soldiers. Issei just snapped his fingers, and the ones he marked had disappeared. Issei, I already knew you had something in your hands. Kirito, what have you done? This is necessary to finish them off. Issei, I didn't want to say it, but the humans of this world have been transported to another, so it's time for you and your people to disappear along with the vampires and this world. But Kirito angrily attacked Issei with his sword and he only stopped the cuts with his finger. While this was happening, Issei began to speak. Issei, you left me no choice. You didn't care about humans, only your personal survival. You're not that different from vampires. Kirito separated from him and was breathing erratically and spoke. Kirito, you don't know anything. In fact, when I defeat you, I'll make sure to turn you into a demon and you'll be my sword. Issei, no thanks, I've already been one, but well, it's time for me to retire and finish this. Issei disappeared and appeared near where a battle was taking place. This was Krull and Ferrets. He was about to bite her, but Issei hit him so hard that he was sent flying. Issei, are you okay, Krull? She just agreed. Ferret had caught her off guard. It almost cost her life. Issei, now get up, idiot, I hit you slowly. Ferret woke up in pain. That guy was very strong, that's what he thought. Ferret, haha, look, it's Issei-kun, what brings you here? Issei, it's time for this to end. There is no turning back, only destruction remains for them. Ferret launched himself to attack Issei, but he disappeared from there. Ferret could only scream in frustration. He already knew what Issei could do. Issei showed him through an illusion. With Issei, this one appeared in a place near the sea. There were the children and other people who had not been transferred to the other world. Issei, ah well guys, now you know that neither Ophis nor I are from this world. Kamizuki, I will get your sister back. Don't worry about that. I will just tell you that vampires like you and Michaela will not have a normal life in that world. What will you do? Krull, I'll go with you, that's more than obvious. Michaela, I would like to be with you. Issei just looked at Michaela and said, Issei, in my world vampires are far from the human world. I will create a similar world. This one will be connected to your human world. I currently have the power to do this. I will also create a connection with my world. There are many things to do. Everyone listened attentively to what Issei said. They trusted him, since he showed them what he is capable of. Issei, guys, be happy. Remember that you must start over now. You will be the protectors of your home. The good thing is that we are in the same universe, so you can visit your loved ones in paradise. Don't worry. Worse, while it's time to end this. Ophis and Krull, be ready. Issei disappeared from the place again to appear at the site where vampires and humans were facing each other. Issei, it's time. Issei caught everyone's attention, including the possessed little girl who was going to attack Issei. Issei, not yet. Issei approached her at high speed and cast a sealing spell, and the girl was rendered unconscious. Then he teleported her to where his brother was. Issei, today is the day your end comes. You scum of this world will disappear. Issei charged towards the vampires and humans, beginning a total massacre. For half an hour there were shouts from both sides. Issei then began to fly and ignited his aura, which caused the earth to shake. Rivers, seas, cities, everything trembled, signaling its end. Those who were still alive were terrified. Issei put his hands together and moved them back. Issei, Kamehameha. Then the Earth was completely destroyed, only a few of those who remained were teleported away. A few months later. New planet Earth. They were all in that place where there were already built cities and civilization. It was all like a dream, one that is reality. Issei was saying goodbye to the boys who were thanking him. Issei, okay guys, now the vampire world has been established, try not to cause trouble, all this is goodbye. Issei, Krull, and Ophis were entering the gap that had been created. They came in and it closed. Issei, oh well, it's time. I didn't finish speaking because I heard a voice that didn't surprise me. Shirnoa, will you leave without me? Issei, Shirnoa, what are you doing here? Shirnoa, did you think I would let you go? Issei, I'm older than you. Shirnoa, I don't care about that, I love you, not your age, so you won't be released. Issei just smiled, as did the others, and they just looked in front of them waiting to get home. Chapter 4.5. Location currently unknown. The boys were looking at the place they were in, and the truth is they did not recognize the place. Ophis, Issei, I think I won't let you open your breeches anymore. Issei, hey, it hasn't been many times. Krull, didn't you want to go to your world already? Issei, well yes, but anyone can make a mistake. Shirnoa, if I'm not mistaken, I heard it's like twice. Issei stayed quiet, and then he began to observe the place. It was a normal city, well, if you could say that. Because this was like Japan, but there was a big difference, and that is that people had strange bracelets and necklaces on their necks and hands. I mean, it would be basic or indifferent if I saw a few, but they were all people and even babies. Issei, girls, let's go to that alley for now. They were going to ask, but they kept quiet because he looked a little serious. When they were already in the alley, Issei prepared to speak. Issei, girls, I think I'll have to create some similar necklaces. Shirnoa, do you think the same? Krull, what would it be? Ophis, people all have bracelets and necklaces, so it would be weird if we were without it. Issei, exactly, and from what I feel, there are only normal people here, that's why we shouldn't stand out too much. Shirnoa, well, we dress normally, but you and Krull. They looked at each other and acknowledged. Suddenly a magic circle appeared on each of them, and went up their bodies until their clothes changed. He had a white shirt with a blue tie, and a black coat with white and blue details, blue and black pants. Issei, how do I look? Ophis, beautiful. Shirnoa, if I give you. Krull, appetizing. Issei just stood there blankly at his girls' comments, but it also made them smile and blush. Then Issei created the necklaces and bracelets, and they put them on. They didn't know what they were for, but it was better to go unnoticed. They walked for a while and arrived at the subway. Who knows how, but they did it. Something that Issei learned was to convert materials into money, obviously only some. Already in the subway, a scandal began to be heard, and they turned to see what it was about. Then Issei, in shock, observed how a black-haired girl with panties on her face and a sheet as a suit. She was laughing like crazy while screaming obscenities. Issei, hey girls, do you see and hear the same thing as me? They agreed slightly. Then they saw a brown-haired boy running out of the place. The girl also ran away, and on the way their eyes collided. Then she continued running, escaping from the police who were chasing her. Shirnoa, I need to process this. Issei, me too. A while later, they had gone to a cafe that was close to the city center. They had bought their drinks and had ordered their desserts to go. They were sitting on benches away from everyone. They were enjoying what they had bought. Issei, this world is very strange. Shirnoa, I can't refute your comment. Krull, I don't understand why anyone would do that. Ophis, the only thing left is to discover what is happening in this place, for this to happen. Issei, of course they are right, but for that we will have to go to the city library and see, but apparently we are in Japan, and if I am not mistaken we are in Tokyo. This is very difficult. Krull, what do you want to do, Issei? I just remind you that you can't solve everyone's problem. Issei, he, I know, even if you don't believe it, I feel like I might do something stupid. Shirnoa, if that's so we'd better get going. Ophis, let's see what happens, we'll leave later. Issei, ha, okay, well it's time to go to the library. Okay, we'll do this, I'll put a mark on you, So when you finish going around the city and investigating, I'll just appear, so the next thing is I'll go to the library, and you'll divide up the territory to investigate. Girls, hi. Then Issei put the mark on Shirnoa and Krull, not on Office, since she can search for him quickly. With Issei. This one was in the city library and had asked for some books about the history of Japan. And I have discovered many interesting and crazy things, of course. First of all, Japan became the country with the highest public morality, and one of the reasons why it is so. It's all thanks to bracelets and necklaces, which allow us to know what a person is saying and also what activity they are doing with their hand. Issei, wow, this is very interesting, also very silly. It's good that I put my perversion aside since the... Issei was silent for a while, remembering Akane and the girls, but he quickly shook his head to stop thinking about it. Issei, well, that doesn't matter for now, I'll solve it in my world. Issei continued reading the books he had borrowed. Some time later, Issei had already finished reading everything and understood everything better. People have the right to think what they like and do what they like, obviously with limits. This was an outrage, but oh well. Issei, I think I know what I'll do, but in the meantime I'll go get the girls. It seems they're ready. Then Issei disappeared without having noticed that a girl had seen him. That? With Shirnoa and Krull. They had also investigated what was happening in that world, and although it was nonsense, it was also something serious. They were quiet and thoughtful until they saw a gap open near them where Office came out. Office, what did they discover? Shirnoa, well, 10 years ago, the public morality law was implemented, and it prohibits anyone in Japan from seeing, saying, or doing anything vulgar. Office, and you? Krull, well, I discovered that there are several schools and there are two that stand out, but I didn't know the name of one, and the other is called Issei, Tokioka Academy. It's the best school when it comes to public morality. Office, Issei. Issei, hello girls, I know we said that if it was a silly thing we would leave, but this is something bad. Shirnoa, what's wrong with it? Issei, a lot, since the kids nowadays are very innocent. Although it's not bad, there is a sector of society that is different, and they are deprived of their freedom for thinking differently. Besides, we are in a normal world or something like that. Maybe we can relax. The girls began to think in Office's case that didn't interest her. In Shinoa's case, it would be the first time she could enjoy a quiet place. And well, Krull, she just wanted to experience new things. Shinoa, well, if that's what you want, no problem. Issei, ha ha ha, don't worry girls, this adventure will be interesting. Office, I'll go wherever you go, Issei. As she said that, she approached to hug him, and Issei gave her a kiss on the forehead. That made the others pout, and Issei noticed it, so he did the same to them. Issei, well, let's go eat, I'm too hungry. 15 minutes later. They had arrived at a restaurant style that looked very good from the outside. Now inside it was even better, but when they entered they met two boys, a girl with loose black hair, and for some reason she seemed to Issei to look like Aika. He and she locked eyes and the girl just looked away blushing, which confused him. The other was a brown-haired boy with a thin and somewhat effeminate build. They were in a strange pose, as if the boy was trying to run away. Issei mentally, now what the buck? Tokyo City. Tokioka Academy. A week had passed since Issei and his girls met, with the girl called Im and Okumer. And well, it must be said that the things that happened in that world were crazy. For example, they had to enter the Tokyo Academy, also the fact that Okumer entered the student council. Issei entered as a teacher, Shirnoa and Krull as students, as well as Office. Iane also helped her device last longer, she gave her 1 hour. He has also helped them with the organization, socks, which really caught his attention, because even if he hides it, he is still a pervert. Also during physical exams, I helped them to fulfill their mission, and among other things they also met the student council. Being 2 members apart from Iane and Okumer, Reiki Gariki and Anna Nishikinomiya. Today a diploma was being awarded to a student for her great drawing. Issei was watching from afar. He was surprised by the well-designed drawing. Then he looked at Okumer and realized what he was thinking. Issei mentally, Okumer-kun, that lifestyle isn't always the best, I hope you can understand. They were talking and praising the drawing made by the 3rd-year student, Otome Sotome. They saw a very short girl pass by, looking like a child, Although Issei didn't find it so surprising, Shirnoa and Ophis were far away from where Issei was. They were among all the students, observing everything. They didn't really find this world very interesting, but it was good to relax. According to Ophis, I told them that when they arrive in their world there will be problems with the factions. For example, according to Issei, he belonged to the Alliance, and his duty was to be there. Since the girls had left him for the current pillar, they were going to engage him with other women, although some of the leaders did not agree and wanted to leave him alone. More than anything, they realized their mistake. There was something that Ophis did not want to tell them, but both Ravel and Rasuwise did not participate in the infidelity, and are in a place out of reach of the facts since they wanted to compromise them with Daisuke. But that's something you'll see when you get back. The girl called Otome had arrived at the stage where the people who would give her their recognition were, but she had a face that was somewhat annoyed and bored. When he was given his award, he did something that surprised everyone. He completely broke it. Time skip. A few days had passed after that, and interesting things happened. Well, for Issei, who was the one having the most fun with what was happening. First, the discovery that Sotome was depressed for not having anything good to draw. That Anna was being harassed, and something super funny happened. Okumer kissed her by accident. That generated a lot more things. At the moment, the entire Sox group was present as the leader was making a very important plan. It turns out that Anna's mother is someone very important, being part of the government, and there was a new law that she was waiting to be approved. Issei, so what's the plan? Then Iam began to talk about the plan. It is assumed that an erotic manga writer had kept his treasure in a cave with a peculiar appearance. His son, who had inherited everything, knew about this, and when the police in charge of public morality came on one occasion, he lied, saying that what happened in the magazines was not true. After outlining the plan, only Issei, Iam and the girls remained, but Issei turned to look at them and she understood, so they could leave. They left, but not before saying goodbye to Iam. The two were silent as they finished arranging everything. After doing so, Issei sat down, as did she. Issei, you are really amazing, Iam. Iam, thank you, although it is all thanks to your guidance. Issei, it could be Iam, there is something that none of us have been honest with you about. Iam just looked at him a little confused. She doesn't think it's anything bad. Iam, what is it? You can tell me. Issei smiled, which made her blush as she looked at him. Issei, Iam, we are not from here. Iam, are they foreigners? Issei, you're not understanding, we're not from this world, in fact we only got here by mistake. Iam did not understand clearly, in fact the idea was great but impossible. Issei, I know you might not believe me, but an example was when I upgraded your phone. What I used was magic. Iam, we have to go, I have business to solve in my world. Iam, so what are you? Because from what you say you are not human. Issei, I am a dragon, to be specific. Ophis and I are dragons, we are dragon gods. I am dragon gods? Are you a god? Issei, yes, in fact, the only one who is human to a certain extent is Shirnoa, but she is part demon because of her weapon, and Krull is a vampire. Iam was surprised but not so convinced. Iam, how can you prove it? Then Issei stood up and took off his shirt, which made Iam turn bright red. Iam, what are you doing? Issei, well, I'll show you. Then two dragon wings came out of his back and they were black and red. Iam, instead of being scared, was amazed and stunned, and approached to touch Issei's wings while he was looking at her. Iam touched Issei's light wings and how they felt until she noticed Issei looking at her. Their gazes collided. They stayed like that for a while they looked at each other until Issei gave her a smile and said, Issei, have you been told that you are very beautiful? Iam stood still for a moment, then blushed massively and smoke even came out of them. Issei, ha ha ha, you are very cute, but well, I already proved to you that I am a dragon. Now, well, Iam, it is time for me to go. Issei put on his shirt and left the place, leaving a blushing Iam touching her chest near her heart. Iam, oh, what's wrong with me? Chapter 42 of 2. Tokyo City. Day of the plan. Currently Iam and Okumer were in the corresponding place. It turns out that the place and the images had been lost to Okumer when Anna tried to get his love nectar, out of him. That really made Issei laugh a lot because out of pure innocence a Yandere came to the surface. Ayam and Okumer were watching the Loa in charge of public morality, some guys dressed in white waiting for the terrorists. These are named thus for the type of conduct they display, as well as for belonging to organizations that go against public morality. With Issei and the girls were far from that. They weren't really going to get involved as such, they would support them from afar. Office Issei. Issei, what happened, Office? Office, will this be the last? Issei was silent for a moment, thinking he would really rather not return to his world. Not out of fear, since no one there has enough power to defeat him. Maybe Indra, Shiva and Red can entertain him for a while since they are powerful and have great abilities. It was more because it felt good to be traveling to other places and meeting new people. Issei, yes, Office, after this we will return to DXD. Krull, DXD? Office, that's the name of our dimension, or well, that's what the angel who trained Issei called it. Shirnoa and Krull agreed in amazement. Issei, that's right, but don't worry, we're in the same universe as my world. Shirnoa, how? Issei, your world belongs to my universe and the one in charge is Great Red, but he does not get involved in those matters. He is in charge of watching and that no entity from another world passes, for which he is very powerful, but in this case I am in charge of bringing justice to the worlds of my dimension, so there is no problem. The girls were more surprised to know that information. In Office's case she was into something else. Office mentally, we've been together for a long time now, we have Lilith, but I want more little dragons. She thought while looking at Issei, and he noticed her gaze, so he reciprocated and gave her a smile. With Ayam and Okumer. It was quite a surprise. Thanks to the green-haired girl from the lab, the maps and drawings were distributed, which meant that no student attended the signing of the new morality law, which was basically having a chastity belt. Thanks to everyone's work, Okumer and Ayam were able to accomplish their mission. Obviously there were several problems, and that was Anna, who in her delirium of obsession, chased Ayam to catch her so that Okumer would tell her that he loves her. They were about to lose if it weren't for Anna's foolishness when she perceived the scent of Okumer on the partner of the terrorist character Ayam. Some time later, Issei was watching the news where Sophia Nishikinomiya appeared, talking about the new law and among other things showing the image, but it turned out to be an obscene drawing. Issei, ha 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 ha, that's what you get for being so talkative, ha 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 ha, well it's time. Office and the others were there waiting for Issei's order. Issei, well, we won't go to say goodbye to them, it's time to go back, I can't keep running away. Shirnoa, Issei, what are you going to do with those features? Issei smiled evilly and looked up. Issei, only if they mess with me, I will give them a great punishment. In the case of Daisuke and Drake, I will make it clear to them who is the true dragon of domination. Since I do not have the title of Dragon God, I will ask Red to make it official. I will make Drake get out of the boosted gear to beat him up. Suddenly his face turned gloomy, and in a dark voice he said, Issei, and I will dominate all the factions. The girls were speechless at what Issei said. Issei, it's more so they don't mess with humans, you already saw what Hades tried to do. With Ayam and Okumer. They were running away from the police, as they had stolen some of the documents with the signatures. They were laughing as they ran, but then they saw Issei appear out of nowhere in front of them, as well as Office, Krull and Shirnoa. Issei, Okumer-sensei, how? Issei, that doesn't matter, let's go. Office opened a gap through which everyone entered. It is worth mentioning that Ayam and Okumer were extremely impressed, well, more so Okumer. They arrived at the restaurant that was their base. When they entered they saw Satom, who was with a stupefied face. Issei, guys, it's time for us not to go. Ayam, are you leaving already? Okumer, where to? Issei, we have to go back to my world, guys, we are not from here, there are things I have to solve, but first guys. Okumer, it is not bad to say obscenities or do them as long as it is with the person you like or love, and Anna does it in her own way, of course. Satom, do not be depressed for not having to paint, since you are also beautiful. Issei stared at them, speaking to them, and they smiled at him. Then he turned to see Ayam, who already had her normal clothes on. She was startled. Issei smiled at her very cutely. Issei, Ayam remembers that. There is no problem with what you like. You are unique. Do not change. Always be yourself. Society may not accept you, but there are people who do, and I am one of them. Ayam looked at Issei with a big blush. Issei approached and was going to give her a kiss on the forehead as a farewell. She was clever and gave him one on the lips. Ayam, if you think I'll let you go, you're crazy. I didn't know what I felt, but now I know. I like you, Issei. Issei was in shock just like everyone else. When he came out of the shock, he walked away and said, Issei, but I'm much older than you. I don't care about that. I like you, not your age. Issei smiled but felt a chill run down his spine. He turned to look back to meet the gazes of his girlfriends. Shinoa, you're so lucky, Issei-kun. Krull, I would say a lot. Office. Issei, okay, but you have your life here and your organization. You can't go with us. Ayam thought about that. She got a little sad. She didn't want to leave after all she had worked for. Office. Issei, there is no problem with that. As you told yourself, we are in the same universe, so there is no problem. Even with your power, you could do the same thing you did with Shinoa and Krull's world. Issei, it's true, don't worry, Ayam. I'll do my best so we can be together. Ayam, I'll wait for you, don't worry about that. Issei approached to kiss her while Okumura and Satom watched that with discomfort. Issei, okay guys, we're leaving. Remember that this is not goodbye, it's see you soon. Suddenly Issei and Office began to fly just as they put a spell on the other two to do the same. Issei, it's time, my loves. Office, Krull, Shinoa, hi. Then Office opened a dimensional breach where they entered a kind of cube. Issei mentally, it's time to show that even if I fall I will get up, it's time for them to know who he is. The Dragon God of Domination and Justice. Chapter 5.5. Human World. Coast of Japan. On the coasts of Japan, where the battle against the most fearsome beast of all was once fought, were the faction leaders, along with the Surkyudai, the Gremri group, Vala and his team. There was also a group of soldiers from some factions. Sir, what could that power be? It's gigantic. Shiva, he's at my level. Daisuke, who was with his girls, just snorted. He was confident because he had Drag with him. Suddenly, they saw a kind of ship entering the atmosphere. It was getting closer, and the power was felt more. Azazel, wow, that power is enormous. Besides, it's a somewhat unusual ship. Suddenly the ship reached land and stopped on a kind of cliff. Odin, we must know what his intentions are, although I feel evil energy from within. They were very tense, although some were confident, and that was Shiva. He may be at his level, but he was the strongest god. Suddenly the door of the ship was opened and many beings with a certain style of armor came out, and they were at the level of a high-class demon. But I also called their attention to 4 more beings who seemed to be of the highest caliber. The first one had high power but was weak compared to the others. This being was a dwarf, with armor and a kind of red skirt. His skin was completely blue, and he had a big nose. The second one was more powerful. He was of a higher level than Indra. His skin was red and he had black horns. The next one was a thin-looking being with a bald head and grayish skin, but this one was at Shiva's level. His power was enormous. The most important one, a being that was the size of a child, had an evil smile. His power surpassed everyone present. It was terrifying. Odin realized that the evil energy came from him. Everyone was attentive and was going to try to start a conversation with them. Somewhere else. Dimensional gap. Issei and the girls continued to travel through the gap so that they wouldn't make a mistake and go to another world by accident. Suddenly they felt like they were attracted by a gap and it swallowed them. They fell to the spot, a very strange one. It should be noted that they were complaining a little about the pain. Shinoa, ouch, that really hurt. Issei, why did you bring us here? Issei, but I didn't do it. Then they paid attention to the place. It was like a kind of very beautiful palace. Then they saw a very wide staircase with a red carpet. Out of curiosity, they wanted to investigate where they were. They arrived at the throne room where in the blink of an eye, a very beautiful woman with white hair and red eyes appeared. She was wearing a beautiful white and blue dress as she looked at everyone with a smile. Welcome to my room. Issei, thank you very much, but who are you? And what are we doing here? Issei, don't worry, my name is Issei and I am a goddess who is in charge of watching over the dimensions of this universe. The four of them remained completely silent, trying to process what she said. Issei paid a little attention and noticed that this woman was very powerful. Issei, and the reason you're here is for the infringement of traveling to other worlds without my consent and aside from creating a world. Issei raised her power, and the place began to shake a little. This scared Shernoa and Krull a little, but in the case of Ophis and Issei they were not impressed much. Issei began to walk towards her as his power rose rapidly, which made the goddess's smile disappear completely. Issei mentally, if power is enormous and continues to grow, it is far superior to me. It has already surpassed that dragon. It is growing more. Issei arrived to where the goddess was in shock. Issei was smiling for achieving what he wanted. Issei, if you're trying to impress me, you're wrong. I clarify that this is not all my power, it's 15% of it. That cold tone made Issei fall to her knees. Issei stood at her level and touched her shoulder, and while giving her a cute smile he said, Issei, don't worry, I won't hurt you. I understand that your job is to keep watch, but there's also Great Red, and now I, who am by far more powerful than everyone, am the most powerful in the universe. Issei stood up and apologized for her arrogant behavior, then they proceeded to sit down so they could talk. 20 minutes later. Issei, so Issei, you went to the root dimension, it's interesting. Shernoa, have you never been? The goddess was thoughtful about the question, but did not hesitate to answer. Issei, no, I haven't been able to. Krull, why? I mean, you are the goddess of dimensions. Issei, because my power doesn't allow me that much. In fact, if Issei was able to go to the root dimension, this was thanks to Great Red, but he had to use all his power. Besides, I can only travel to dimensions of this universe. I can't do it anymore. Ophis, as I suspected, each universe has its own gods. Issei, well, Issei, you don't have to worry about anything, since I have the power to solve things. Issei nodded with a smile at what Issei said, then the goddess put on a serious face that caught the attention of those present. Issei, what happened? Issei, there is a battle on Earth specifically. The factions are fighting against a being that appeared not long ago, and it is in the human world. Issei became totally serious in that. Issei creates a hologram and sees how the battle is going, and until now they were losing. Daisuke was fighting against the most powerful guy, but he couldn't do anything against him. Issei saw this with satisfaction, but for the last time he would save their asses. Issei, I'll go. They were all surprised, since it wasn't their problem, but they remembered something. Issei, remember that you are fighting in the human world. I will give you hope so that in the future you will fail. Issei, send me to Earth. Ophis, we will go with you. Issei, not yet, that guy has more power. I know his race, and I could even tell you who. Only Great Red could fight him, but no more. Issei created a portal where Issei stood in front, and before entering he turned to see his girlfriends. Issei, there's something I have to do after this, so you better stay. See you later. Issei entered the portal, which closed immediately. With the alliance, everyone fought with what they had. There were casualties on both sides, but the commanders were very powerful, and only Shiva could confront them. Daisuke was fighting the boss, but he was being screwed. Kuriza, ha ha ha, are you supposed to be the strongest? You're just some insects. Then Kuriza hits Daisuke with a punch that sends him flying. Kuriza, I'm already bored. As far as I know, there's only one being that could entertain me, but he doesn't appear, so time to destroy the world. Kuriza raised his hand to create a sphere but felt someone hold it firmly. Everyone turned to look at the guy and was shocked to see who he was. Gabriel Issei. Issei was looking seriously at Kuriza and said to him, Issei, I won't let that happen. 1 hour before. The alliance leaders paid attention to the beings in front of them. Then the subject, who was in a flying throne style, came a little closer and began to speak. Kuriza, it's a pleasure to be here with you. My name is Kuriza, the Emperor of the Universe. Sir Shay, It's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Circe Lucifer, the king of demons. To what do we owe your visit? Kuriza continued with his smile, which irritated some and frightened others. Kuriza, ho ho ho, well, I've heard that on this planet there are very powerful beings, and I would love to verify that. Shiva, who was listening, approached them, walking imposingly, raising his power, which impressed Kuriza but only a little. Shiva, that's right, and I am one of them. I am Shiva, the god of destruction. Kuriza was surprised to hear the title of this Shiva. Kuriza, so you are the god of destruction of this universe? Fantastic. The leaders were confused when they heard what Kuriza said. Shiva, so to speak, I am the second most powerful being in the supernatural world, Shiva said calmly, but with a touch of arrogance that bothered the short man. You are very arrogant, Mr. Kuriza. Kuriza, never mind. Sorbet the Strong have the right to boast of being so well, although you were not the one I was looking for. His name was Great Red or something like that. It is said that he is very powerful. The members of the Alliance were surprised because he was right, but they hadn't heard from him for a long time. Shiva, for his part, was upset to think that I was belittling him, which was true. Shiva, how dare you look down on me, a god? The gray-skinned guy standing there got upset too and spoke. Tagoma, more respect for Kuriza-sama. You may be powerful, but you can't hold a candle to him, he said as he raised his power, which scared everyone. Kuriza, ho ho ho, don't worry, Tagoma. Well, seeing that this guy is not here, I think it's time to move on to the next point. Azazel, what is it? Kuriza, conquer this world. That put everyone on guard. They knew that guy wasn't playing. Kuriza, but I don't want to make it that easy. I also want to fight you. Let's do this with my 2 soldiers, Tagoma, sure, Sammy, and I against 3 of your best fighters. If you win, which I doubt, we will just leave, but in case we win, we will proceed with what we came for. The Alliance members were left thinking about what he had said, and had no choice but to accept. Odin, okay, but to be fair. Then Odin raised his staff and created a pocket dimension, which impressed Kuriza, finding it interesting. The place was like a coliseum, but it was abandoned. Kuriza, well, sure, Sammy, it's your turn. The red-colored being with horns took a step forward and began to walk towards the place. Then, from the sky, they saw a subject coming down that impressed everyone, since they had not seen him for a long time. This one had black clothes, eyes of different colors, and hair of the same type. Miguel, Crom Cruch. Crom Cruch, known as the most powerful evil dragon of all, surpassing the celestial dragons, at his peak, ranked 5 of the most powerful beings in the supernatural world. Crom, I just came to see where that power came from. I accept the challenge. Odin, thank you for. Crom, don't be confused, I just want to enjoy a good fight. Sorbet was in the middle of the platform, like the referee. Sorbet, well, it's okay to go with it, even if he dies it's because he's weak. Crom Cruch versus Sure Sammy. The 2 were in their positions ready to begin the fight. In Shisami's case, he was bored thinking that this guy was just trash. In Crom Cruch's case, it was different. He could sense that his opponent was very powerful, but the energy did not recognize him. Previously, Crom Cruch had fought against several gods. For example, on one occasion he fought against Indra, ending in a draw because they were interrupted. And this guy was on Indra's level. Sorbet, get started. After saying that, the 2 disappeared at high speed to reappear, trying to connect several blows. The blows were too strong. Crom Cruch, he really felt them, and even more than Indra's. They continued trying to connect blows, which Sure Sammy managed to do by landing a blow that sent him flying. Sure Sammy, ha, is that there? He said it in a mocking tone, which annoyed Crom Cruch a lot. He quickly got up to continue the fight. But while that was happening, Daisuke put on a malicious smile and tried to sneak past the soldiers, which he succeeded in doing. Then he tried to get close to Kuriza to attack him with a dragon shoot. But this was detected by Tagoma, who quickly stopped the attack. Kuriza, wow, looks like someone is getting impatient. The leaders were shocked to see what their pillar did, and total fear entered them at that moment. Azazel, what do you think you're doing? Daisuke. Sorbet, great Kuriza, what happens? Kuriza was serious. He was really upset. He thought about fighting a little and retreating, but he was upset his power skyrocketed at that moment, totally scaring everyone. Kuriza, my dear soldiers, it's time to conquer this place. The leaders only cursed themselves for not controlling Daisuke. Having no choice, they prepared to fight. Then the attack began. Dimensional gap. In the place where the most powerful being in the supernatural world lives, there was a girl with red hair about 17 years old, very beautiful. She was watching what was happening on Earth. Next to her was a girl with short black hair and dull black eyes, with a tiny smile. Hey, what do you think, Lilith? Let's go. Lilith, I don't know, Red. Without my dad they can't do anything, but that's what they earned. Suddenly they felt a great power, which they both came to recognize. Roha, it's the Issei. Lilith, it's Dad with Mom, but they come with 2 other people. Roha, maybe there's no need to intervene, he'll probably do it. Chapter 5 2 of 2. Human World. Coast of Japan. Currently the Alliance was defending itself as best they could, but there were many coincidences from both sides, since the gods and other beings of great power made the difference. In Shiva's case, he was fighting against Tagoma, and the truth is that things weren't going so well for him. Even though it hurt him, it was nothing compared to what he received. Tagoma, is this the power of the god of destruction of this universe? Shiva, I don't understand what you mean by that. I am the god of destruction in Hindu mythology. Tagoma, ha 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 ha, I told you that you were very weak. The gods of destruction have a universal power. They are in charge of bringing balance to the universe. Together with their creator gods, they are even capable of destroying the universe. That left Shiva in shock. He was very powerful and possessed fearsome techniques. He was a god in every sense of the word, but he could not do such feats. Shiva, that's impossible. Tagoma, you are just another being who claims to believe in God. Tagoma then lunged at Shiva and hit him in the stomach, knocking him unconscious. Tagoma, you are strong but not strong enough. You are not even worth me killing you. With the others, Issei was fighting against several soldiers. They were really nothing to him. The problem was that they were in quantity. Issei, tch, they are annoying. The soldiers around him completely disintegrated. But in doing so he had to dodge someone who was coming in his direction. Issei, who the buck is it? When he could see, he was surprised to notice that it was Shiva with several wounds and unconscious. Issei, it can't be, he's the most powerful of all. I turned to where Daisuke was, fighting against Kuriza, but he was being easily defeated. Then a memory came to mind. It was Issei fighting and giving his all in every battle. Then when they fought against the evil dragons and Triexha, he always fought and did not give up. Then he came back to reality watching Daisuke being beaten up. Issei mentally, damn it, what did we do? With Crom Crutch. He was totally tired after his battle against Sami. He had been able to defeat him. It wasn't easy, that guy was more powerful than him, but he took advantage of the fact that he was a very arrogant guy. Crom mentally, ah damn it, I'm so tired, I used 300% of my 100%, ha ha ha. Issei, I hope you can solve this maybe already. Crom was left thinking when he was taken out of his thoughts when he felt something piercing near his heart. Crom fell to the ground, seeing who had attacked him treacherously. Crom, damn dwarf, if I had the strength I would kill you. Sorbet just smiled evilly. After that he went into hiding. Crom mentally, I don't think I can take it anymore, this is the end for me. Crom remained motionless, a sign that he had died. With Kuriza. This one was giving the supposed Red Emperor shit. It was fun to see how easily he fell. Kuriza, so what happened? Weren't you the strongest? He told her that while he had Daisuke under his paws. Everyone saw how they had their pill. The women of the Circuiti did nothing. They just watched this without any expression, but in their minds only one thing was happening. All Issei, he wouldn't have done this. The others looked at their pillar with disappointment, and some with anger, since it was his fault that they were like this. Kuriza, I already know. Then Kuriza kicked Daisuke, who fell near his people. Kuriza, it's time to destroy this world. Kuriza raised her hand, but then she felt that someone had grabbed her tightly, so she turned around and saw a boy, who gave off great power. Issei, I won't let you. Kuriza stared at him, as did Issei. Both were totally serious. The others saw this with astonishment. In the case of the soldiers, they were upset, especially Tagoma and Sorbet. With the supernatural beings, they were totally shocked to see the boy who was once the catch. Daisuke looked at him with hatred, and inside the boosted gear, Drake looked at him with complete astonishment at the power that emanated from his former companion. Kuriza tried to get out of the hold but couldn't. He tried, but nothing. Everyone was shocked to see that. Kuriza, seeing that he could not increase his power, but not even that fazed Issei until he decided to release him. Kuriza, who are you? Issei, I am Son Issei, the most powerful guy in the universe. Elsewhere. End of the world. In the signal where the beast of the apocalypse is located, a person was seen watching everything from his place. Triexha, wow, they are very powerful. Even I would find it difficult to engage in a battle, although that Issei is more powerful than that Kuriza. I watched the interaction of the two attentively until I heard the next thing Issei said. Triexha, wow, that kid is interesting. He said as the image of the Triexha was revealed. Triexha, very interesting. Chapter 6.5. Human World. Coast of Japan. The pocket dimension had long since been destroyed. Issei and Kuriza looked at each other seriously. Suddenly Issei turned to look to the side where the factions were and saw someone who caught his attention. The supernatural beings saw how Issei turned to look at them. Suddenly he raised his hand and a sphere of power was created in it. Issei launched the attack. Towards them the others tried to get away until they saw where the sphere went to fall. Crom Cruch was getting up with some ease and on his face was bewilderment. He had died. Then he looked up and saw someone he did not expect to see. Crom Issei. Issei turned to look at him. His expression was indifferent. He just nodded and looked back at the person in front of him. Kuriza. Ho ho ho, you are very funny. Everyone here has told me almost the same thing and it has been a disappointment, but you are strong. Issei smiled at what she said. He seemed a little satisfied by what she said. Issei, there is a big difference between them and me. I can back up my words. In this world there are only two beings who can fight me, but that doesn't matter now. Kuriza only heard what he said. His instincts told him to leave, but his pride was stronger. He was the most powerful being of all. Issei, so I give you two options. The first is to leave here and we'll all be fine. The second is that you die. The last thing he said with a face that was really scary. Kuriza, big words for an insect, but okay, it's time for you to die. Kuriza, who was close to him, launched himself at Issei to hit him, but he quickly dodged it. Kuriza was not surprised and continued trying to connect with some blows that went at a great speed, but Issei dodged them at a greater speed. Kuriza walked away from Issei, and he just made a bored face as if he had expected something more. Issei, well, I think it's my turn. When Issei said that, he disappeared at great speed and appeared in front of Kuriza, throwing endless blows at him that he could not dodge or stop. Kuriza received the blows and were not really hurt too much. Suddenly Issei stopped throwing punches and angrily separated and stared at Issei. Kuriza, damn you. Kuriza was weak after those blows, so he looked at his two best soldiers and agreed to them. Issei, ha 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 ha, and that was only my 10%. Even if you last too long with my 5%, I can destroy the world. What left Issei more in shock? Drake was more in shock. It was impossible. He was just a pervert. Drake mentally, damn, if it's true, and from how I see it, maybe I'll kill Daisuke. Damn, why isn't this guy that strong? Back with Issei. Currently in front of Issei were Sure Sammy and Tagoma, who were going to fight in the name of the Emperor. Issei, are you really going to send your lackeys? Ah well. Then Issei launched himself at the first one and sent him flying with a kick to his face. The next one, Tagoma, also launched himself at Issei and hit him in the face but didn't move him. Issei, that's why these fights aren't exciting. You guys are really weak. Issei grabbed Tagoma's head tightly and punched him in the stomach. Then he threw him to the ground and went for Sure Sammy. When he got to where this guy was, he killed him. Tagoma appeared behind him, but Issei punched him without turning to look at him. Issei followed them while Tagoma flew from the blow. Issei appeared above him and sent an attack, killing him. Beings like Shiva and Crom Crutch were stupefied. In Crom's case he was in awe, and in Shiva's case he felt humiliation. Daisuke saw everything with anger and fear. Issei was very strong and capable of killing him. Issei stood there for a while until he saw someone hiding. Issei just gave a smile. Sorbet, who was hiding, tried to leave, but Issei raised his hand and sent him an attack, killing him. Issei, Jum, so are you going to fight now? Issei saw how Kuriza was. Issei had really annihilated his entire army by making the attacks. But then he gave a mischievous smile and spoke. Kuriza, if you are very strong, you defeated my best soldiers, I propose something to you. Join me, and we will conquer this world, women, money and more. You will be my right hand. Daisuke heard that, and he was interested. Maybe by joining him he could obtain many things. Drake knew what he was thinking and could only regret having chosen this guy. The supernatural beings were afraid that Issei would accept. What they didn't know was that Issei was going to conquer this world anyway, and the factions would come under his control. Issei, sounds interesting, but I decline the offer. You are too weak for that, and besides, nobody orders me around. Issei mentally, well, just Office, sure, Noah and Krull, hehehehe. Kuriza just laughed and then got into position and began to raise his power, but before he transformed, Issei interrupted him. Issei, I know you are Kuriza, the son of Frisia. Kuriza, how do you know my great father? Issei, let's say I was in the place where you belong, but that doesn't matter. Bring out all your power. I want you to be in your final form. If not, it wouldn't be any fun. Kuriza, ha 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 ha, you asked for it. Kuriza got back into position and began his transformation. The earth began to shake and the sea moved too much. The rocks around him rose. H. A light blinded everyone, and when they opened their eyes they saw Kuriza's new appearance. His power was enormous. It completely surpassed Great Red. Kuriza, ha 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 ha, you see, I am the most powerful being in the universe. Issei was stunned to see it. The leaders and other supernatural beings were trembling from such a display of power. Issei, is that your final form? Kuriza, what do you mean? Issei, your father has 2 more powerful forms than that, and all because of training. Kuriza, I don't need that. Issei smiled evilly, and then his power rose to be at the same level as this also scared the leaders. Issei mentally, this will be boring. I wanted that Melvazoid guy to be alive so I could have fun. His techniques are impressive, but I can nullify them well. But you can always have what you want. Kuriza, prepare yourself. This is only 50% of my power in this transformation. Issei, don't worry, I'll try to hold back. This is barely 40% in my base state. Kuriza and Issei were ready to start the battle, but then an attack was directed towards Issei. Issei knew who it was, so he smiled, but he let the attack reach him. Everyone was amazed to see Daisuke attacking from behind, and even more so to see how he knelt before Kuriza. Daisuke, Kuriza-sama, I am willing to join you as one of your soldiers. Suddenly I heard a voice near him. Issei, wow, to think that you traded me for this guy, partner, ha ha ha, well that doesn't matter. Issei grabbed Daisuke and threw them while sending a sphere of power at him. The sphere exploded and Daisuke was seen falling unconscious, since Issei still did not want to kill him. Issei, well, sorry for the interruption, insects always get in. Kuriza, ho ho ho, don't worry, I hadn't even thought about accepting it. Well, let's start. Daisuke's leaders and women were in great shock seeing everything that had happened. He practically betrayed them. Dimensional gap. Roha and Lilith were watching everything, and in Red's eyes you could see the excitement of watching the battle. Lilith thinks Dad will win. Roha, I think so too, it's obvious that he's very powerful. End of the world. Triexha was still watching everything, and when Issei increased his power she blushed from the pheromones. She could be a chimera, but she was part dragon. Triexha, this is getting very interesting. But there was something in common with Triexha and Red. He will be mine. Ixie Castle. The 4 women were watching everything unfold and were truly amazed by the power of this Kuriza. Aside from Issei's way of acting, Ophis realized, it's as if he were an evil dragon, but at the same time, Issei, wow, this is impressive. Do you think Issei wins? Ophis, I would have defeated him if he was in his first form. Currently it is impossible for me. But for Issei it is not like that. He is so powerful that he could destroy all dimensions without leaving any trace, and that's little. Issei, well, there are some very powerful gods on a planet far from Earth, and they are more powerful than the Red Dragon. They have very interesting abilities. Ophis, according to what I know, they have been eliminated. Issei, huh? Who defeated them? Shinoa, as far as we know, he was an Issei from another dimension. Clearly, these gods exist in other dimensions, but since they do not have most of their abilities, they are destroyed, and if they existed here, they would be eliminated by Issei. Krull, since he not only has destructive power, he has powers of time, control over life, the elements, he can travel through dimensions, creation of anything or object among others. Issei, how is that possible? Ophis, even we don't know. All we know is that it's extremely powerful. The girls remained silent, while the goddess of dimensions was in total shock upon hearing how little Issei can do. Human world. Coast of Japan. Issei was smiling after having damaged Daisuke, but he stopped because it was time to fight. Quickly the two launched into a hand-to-hand fight. Their bodies moved at a great speed that only Indra and Shiva present could barely see. Suddenly the two separated for a moment that Kuriza took advantage of to give him a combination that Issei blocked. The fight was just beginning, and on the faces of the fighters there was a smile of amusement. The exchange was spectacular. Either of them backed down. The blows carried too much force. Issei was having fun. This guy was currently at the level of a complete Super Saiyan too. Issei was the same. Suddenly Issei disappeared. Kuriza watched where he was until he appeared above him, and kneed him. Kuriza, you are very strong. I accept that. No one had entertained me. Issei, I would say the same, but you are the second. Are we still fighting? Kuriza didn't answer, and lunged back to kick Issei. With the spectators. The alliance was shocked by the battle. In the case of Crom Cruich, he was excited to see the fight. Serche, damn, his power is tremendous. Shiva, it's impossible, they are far superior to me. Odin, if they continue like this, they could destroy the planet. Indra, they are some monsters. That's what most of the leaders said, although the gods like Indra and Shiva were upset and felt humiliated. They were gods and some mortals were more powerful than them. In the case of Daisuke's harem girls, it was an endless number of feelings and emotions. In the end, the good man, and better than Issei, turned out to be a coward who would stab you in the back. Rias approached Daisuke, and her aura of destruction skyrocketed. She raised her hand and created a sphere to eliminate him. That caught everyone's attention, and even Kuriza and Issei. They stopped their fight. Rias had an expression of total fury, and before launching the attack she spoke. Rias, I thought you really loved us, but you turned out to be just a coward. It was always there. But we didn't want to see it. Today we discovered it. Die. She didn't finish speaking as she received an attack from Issei, which left her completely unconscious. That annoyed Serche. Serche, what are you doing, Issei-kun? Issei looked at him for a moment before answering. Issei, Daisuke is mine, only I have the right to kill him, and as for Rias, that's what she gets for messing with a god's prey. Serche, annoyed, remained silent upon feeling Issei's power, and just lowered his head and clenched his fists. Issei created a barrier over Daisuke and disappeared. Issei, let's continue. Issei ran out and gave him a flying kick, and Kuriza flew out. Kuriza stopped his trajectory, and charged at Issei again, but they were almost equal. Already fed up with Kuriza, he began with power attacks. He sent an attack to Issei, but he sent it somewhere else. Issei was not far behind and put his hands up to say, Masenko. Kuriza responded to the attack. The attacks collided, until they cancelled each other out, but that didn't stop them from continuing their fight. But this time Issei was gaining ground. While somewhere else, in the human world, tremors occurred all the time. The atmosphere felt dangerous. But in the city of Osaka, Japan, we can see a very beautiful house of a wealthy family. Inside it is a very peculiar family. They were frightened by the frequent tremors. They were very strong. The man of the house spoke to a girl who was next to him. Say, Sora, go find your sister Akane. We will go to the basement. Sora, hi. The girl, about 16 years old, walked towards her sister's room, carefully, as she was quite scared, but then she remembered something that someone important had told her. Memory. There was a 10-year-old Sora next to a very handsome brown-haired boy. She was moving her little legs that were near the garden. Sora, I Niken. Issei turned to look at her and asked. Issei, what happened, Sora-chan? Sora, will you always be with me? Issei took a thoughtful pose. Issei, I really don't know. Sora made a sad face and asked. Sora, why? Issei, nothing is predictable, but if you ever find yourself in trouble, don't doubt that I'll be there for you. After telling him that, she gave him a nice smile. End of memory. Sora remembered that smile and blushed just imagining it. He came out of his thoughts when he saw that he was already arriving at his destination. When he arrived, he knocked on the door several times, but when he received no answer, he opened the door, finding his sister in a white shirt and looking out the window. His sister didn't turn around, so he decided to speak. Sora, Nei-san, Mom and Dad said we were going to the basement because of the tremors. Akane had heard and decided to turn to see her sister, and just agreed. Sora, upon seeing his sister's confirmation, decided to leave, leaving his sister alone. Akane was still looking out the window, but then she decided to go to her closet and grabbed some comfortable clothes while thinking. Akane mentally, this is obviously not normal. If I didn't know about the supernatural, I would believe it. Besides, I feel a great power, also that of that bastard. Akane had finished dressing and went to look in the mirror. Akane, but don't worry, Daisuke, I've had help and training to be able to kill you and get revenge for what you did to me. If you hadn't gotten involved, Issei would still be with me. He sat on his bed for a while as he raised his hand and a black flame appeared. Akane, it was all his fault, although I understand Issei. I just hope to see him soon and be able to explain things. If he doesn't want to come back with me, I'll be satisfied at least that he knows the truth and that he forgives me, but obviously he will be with me. Chapter 6-2 of 2. Human World. Coast of Japan. The blows continued, but this time there was a great advantage on Issei's part. This really frustrated Kuriza. Issei, despite having been fighting for a while, looked normal. In fact, it seemed like he was just playing. Suddenly Issei threw a kick at him, but Kuriza dodged it, although he didn't expect Issei to kick him with the other leg. Then Issei appeared above him and kicked him again, then from below him and punched him, elevating him, to appear above him and send him down with a hammer blow. Kuriza had landed fiercely on the ground. His body was totally in pain. He didn't want to believe it. That guy was really strong, even more than. He refused to even think about it, so he stood up and put on a smile. Issei, wow, you really are tough. I'm glad I can fight someone like you, but this is getting completely boring. Kuriza was upset but did not show it. He simply made his smile wider and spoke. Kuriza, wow, you're the first one who will make me use my 100%. If that's what you want, then get ready. Kuriza's power had increased too much and had surpassed Issei, something that he realized. Now his body was more muscular, and for that reason his veins were prominent. Kuriza began to stretch to see Issei and smile. Kuriza, shall we continue? Dimensional gap. Roha and Lilith were scared by such an increase in power. It was too powerful. They were afraid that Issei would lose. Roha, it can't be. In his first form I could beat him. In his past form I could fight him. Currently it's impossible for me to even keep up with him. Lilith, it would be impossible for Mom too, although Lilith believes that Dad will be able to beat him. Roha, but he got over it. How could he? Lilith smiled and turned to look at Red and said, Lilith, because Daddy is smiling. End of the world. Triexha was the same as Red. She was in shock. Her power had increased too much. Triexha, Era, he's a total monster. I couldn't do anything against him, although well, I don't think so. Triexha, despite being very impressed, observed that Issei had a confident smile, which is why she wanted to see more of the boy who caught her attention. Something told him that he held more power. Triexha, surprise me more, son. Issei. Ixie Castle. The girls were surprised again, but that was nothing compared to Issei. Although Issei was already doubting that Issei could win. Issei, this is getting really difficult. Office, Issei always lies. He mentioned that it was his 40% of power, but it was only 30%. Don't worry, Issei will win. Krull and Shirnoa acknowledged. Back in the human world, some of the low-level supernatural beings had already fainted from such great power. The leaders were scared. Shiva and Indra were in complete shock. They couldn't last even 5 seconds against the others thought it was their end, and Issei couldn't do anything. As for Gabriel, Yasaka, Kuroka, Leifi, Penemu, Seraphal, Kunyo, Rasiwise, Ravel, Team Valley, Kiba and others who really support Issei, they were not nervous. Something in them trusted Issei. Gabriel mentally, Issei, I know you can, I trust you. With Issei. He was surprised, since his hypothesis was correct. Issei mentally, currently. His level is at 60% of a Super Saiyan 3. Great Red and Triexha could beat him together, but I doubt they can alone. Well, let's give it to him. Kuriza at maximum speed launched himself towards Issei as well as where their bodies collided. To disappear at great speed, Issei gave him a lot of blows. Then Kuriza flew towards him and proceeded to give him several blows and send him flying. Issei was impressed by that, but he was even more excited. Issei, that's a big difference. Kuriza, you really are a great opponent. I wouldn't want to kill you, so it's better if we leave it here and everyone goes home. Those who were watching did not understand where he wanted to go, but the next thing they heard left them in shock. Issei, I give up. Kuriza was shocked when he heard what he said, but then he felt annoyed at what he would hear next. Issei, I am far superior to you. I don't need to keep fighting to provide it to you. While you need your 100% to be able to do some damage to me, I only use 30% of my base power. If we continue like this, your only destiny will be death. Issei said it all seriously, but that made Kuriza feel an indescribable hatred for him, since he was underestimating him. Kuriza, damn you! I am the great Kuriza, the Emperor of Evil, the strongest being in the universe. A human like you cannot underestimate me. Issei looked at this with all the seriousness in the world but smiled mockingly, since it was really funny for him. Issei, you're wrong. I'm a dragon and this dragon will be the one to finish you off. If to say more, Issei, at a divine speed that no one but the dragon goddesses could see, reached Kuriza to give him a blow to the stomach that knocked the air out of him and made him spit. That left Kuriza on his knees. Then Issei walked away from him and said, Issei, I'll show you more of my power. I hope you don't regret it. Issei's power completely surpassed Kuriza's level, which totally scared him. His power could be seen and his aura reached the sky. Without further ado, Issei and Kuriza found themselves face to face in a hand-to-hand fight. Despite everything, Kuriza did not want to accept his defeat. But Issei didn't try hard, something that Kuriza noticed, and it was noticeable. Something that Issei noticed for a while is that his fight was affecting the earth, which is why he had sent a protection spell so it wouldn't affect it as much. Then they separated again so that Kuriza could send a blow to Issei, who crouched down and connected another blow to his abdomen. Then Issei, having Kuriza in front of him, began to slap him while saying, Issei, here's something to keep you entertained. Those who saw this had a sweaty look on their faces, anime style, because of the joke, although their girlfriends thought it was funny. Currently they were in an attempt by Kuriza to connect in a precise blow, but Issei was totally superior to him. Everyone could see that it was almost the end of the fight. Kuriza looked totally exhausted. In a blow sent by Kuriza that hit Issei in the face, who did not flinch. Then Kuriza separated from him, and Issei brought his hand to his chest and gave him a small blow that hurt him. Kuriza was on the ground breathing heavily, and Issei was on the side and told him, Issei, I had told you, I had given you a chance, but your pride was stronger than reason, and that has led you to destroy yourself. The only thing left for you now is to be eliminated.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.